Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and welcome to the only YouTube channel where when you sit down to watch a Cyberpunk video, something's actually happening with the game. Waking's tough for me, but yeah, I'm trying to talk about clickbaiters. Look, we all gotta make our bread. I understand that, this is my full-time job, but we should be creative enough to not pretend every single day things are happening with this game. So welcome one, welcome all. Today, we're sitting down to talk about Projekt Red announcing a slew of projects via code names. There's a new Cyberpunk game in development, let's go. There's new Witcher stuff in development, a lot of it, let's go. And we're talking about Marcin Iwinski, who has stepped down as co-founder and CEO of Projekt Red. Let's go, question mark. And we're also going to be getting into, last but not least, a core Projekt Red team moving to Boston to helm the new Cyberpunk game. That's a major let's go. So we have a lot to talk about in this video. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into Projekt Red news and information, particularly with Cyberpunk. That's the game we cover a lot here on the channel. Consider subscribing. Now let's dive in with the first project, the one that y'all are here for. Time to talk about Orion. So this was announced on the Projekt Red Investors Group Twitter account. You can also find it in their long-term strategy video on their YouTube channel. I do recommend checking it out. It's insightful and does indicate some things that maybe the tweets don't. But anyway, Orion is a code name for our next Cyberpunk game, which will take the Cyberpunk franchise further and continue harnessing the potential of this dark future universe. Thank God. Oh my God. So when we learned that there was going to be only one expansion, we made a news update video on that because to me it was a big deal since it felt like things were just turning the corner, and I understand the financial reality of the situation, but I was saying, man, don't give up on this. I couldn't see a sequel happening, to tell you the truth. I thought you got something working here that's turning the corner. People are buying it. We've seen now they confirmed 20 million sales, 8 million of those coming through pre-orders ahead of the launch. So 12 million sales since launch. A lot of those coming recently with the next gen update, even more coming in with Edge Runner. Like, keep supporting this bad boy. There's so much potential here. I didn't expect a sequel. I was thinking like one more expansion perhaps. So I feel quite blessed right now to see they are going to make a true sequel. And seeing how successful Edge Runners is not only great for us because we got to enjoy an awesome anime, but one thing Edge Runners tackles that I don't think the game tackled that well is cyberpsychosis, right? What all those cybernetics do to you as a human being. And I won't get any further into it in case you plan on watching it, but that's one of the core themes of the show, that they do build off the back of something that exists in its universe. Now, there are cyber psychos in Cyberpunk 2077, and I think the base game does a lot of great things to represent Night City and the people within it, but let's be honest, I think the anime did paint a more dark, brooding picture of what it's like to really live in the underbelly, the criminal underbelly of this city. And now we have a chance to take it a step forward on most likely the technology it should have been built on in the first place, true next-gen technology, and see how this all goes. Now, I don't want to overhype it because we gotta take a moment here to acknowledge that even as someone who's been a big believer in Projekt Red, who has believed in Cyberpunk since day one, even during all the bugs, the glitches, we do have to be cautiously optimistic here. I'm relieved that they're doing more here, but Projekt Red, again, I recommend watching that long-term strategy video that they have posted, did indicate that they have taken a lot of notes, a lot of feedback in from the launch of Cyberpunk, and we're gonna have to see how they implement all that. Of course, last year they announced the Projekt Red 2.0 initiative to try to give developers a more agile workforce, create a more friendly environment for their workers, and of course, a more friendly environment for the consumers where they're buying stuff that isn't broken. That's the reality of the situation. This is unfortunately a prove-it moment for Projekt Red despite their pedigree. As far as I'm concerned, since I played The Witcher 2, they have been a top-notch developer. The Witcher 2 is phenomenal. The Witcher 3 speaks for itself, and I think all said and done, when it's all patched up, Cyberpunk 2077 is fantastic. But it's just like Bethesda Game Studios. They made Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, Morrowind, Oblivion. They made a plethora of timeless classics. It took one dud, 76, to make them be put in a prove-it situation. That pedigree doesn't matter. It's actually very short-lived. If anything, it's an encouraging case to why you should be excited for the next game, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to forget the tragedies that you have committed. So while I am very excited that Cyberpunk will continue on, we must remain cautiously optimistic here at the most. What I am excited about too is possibly if they're going to expand this universe further. Will we get a season 2 of Edge Runners? I kind of hope it stays as a one-off and they explore a different group of characters in Cyberpunk 2077 Netrunners or something like that. I would personally prefer that, but what's great to know is they're not giving up on this universe. Obviously with 20 million sales, you'd hope not, but with the projections being so high and then what they received, sometimes business happens and they go, we are moving on. So fortunately, they're not. They're working on it now, and that is exciting to see, because one thing that is a part of the Red 2.0 initiative, because I saw a lot of folks writing like, oh, I won't play this game for another decade. That is possible, but one of their goals at CD Projekt Red is something that we need to pay attention to: parallel AAA game development. We don't hear many studios talk about it. We hear about multiple projects ongoing, but usually what occurs is they're not working in parallel. It's two things are being worked on, and whatever takes the biggest leap forward at a certain point in the cycle, all the resources shift over to that. They work on that, get it ready to go, and then they push to the finish line. But CD Projekt Red has expanded so much with what they said in the video was 1,000+ employees, 700 developers, that they're splitting up the workforce to push forward on these projects, and that will allow them to be made over time, side by side, and that should mean there won't be that much of a lag between games. That is great news, but we have to watch how it plays out, because if it does play out the way we're hoping, which is that you don't have to wait long between The Witcher and Cyberpunk, I'm gonna call to arms companies like From Software, who own a plethora of great IP, Bethesda game studios, especially with Fallout and Elder Scrolls and now Starfield. There are so many companies, Rockstar, where they're keeping Bully captive. So many companies immediately come to mind. So watch this parallel AAA game development very closely. But still, there's more projects to get into. Of course, y'all know, though, I was most excited about Cyberpunk. But I have a lot of love for The Witcher, okay? I've loved The Witcher since The Witcher 2, and they got a lot on the way here. In fact, we now have the confirmed Molasses Flood game, so let's get into some of those. Polaris is a code name for the next installment in the Witcher series of games, which we recently announced was in pre-production. It is the beginning of a new saga. We aim to release 2 more Witcher games after Polaris, creating a new AAA RPG trilogy. Canis Majoris is a full-fledged Witcher game, separate to the new Witcher saga starting with Polaris. It will be developed by an external studio headed by experienced developers who have worked on the Witcher games in the past. Sirius is a code name for the game developed by Molasses Flood, set in the Witcher universe and created with support from CD Projekt Red. It will differ from our past productions, offering multiplayer gameplay on top of a single-player experience, including a campaign with quests and a story. Last but not least, Hadar is a code name for a third, entirely distinct IP created from scratch within CD Projekt Red. The project is in the earliest stages of the creative process, so they're like blueprinting things at this point, which means we are not developing any game yet, but working exclusively on the foundation for this new setting. Okay, you got a lot of Witcher coming your way. Of course, we already knew about the announced title in pre-production, which will be, now we know, a new trilogy. What surprises me most is the, we'll just say, balls CD Projekt Red has here to take their most prized possession in the Witcher franchise and hand it to an external studio. This is something I've called for Fallout to do, for Elder Scrolls to do, because these are some of my favorite franchises that I want to see more of. Bully, Bloodborne, like, sometimes give us more, man. I know we want to control the quality. That's an important part of the process, but I love that they're handing it out here. But the reason I say balls is not because they're doing that, well, that does take guts. It's that they're handing it out after a tragedy, right? At least you could look at Cyberpunk and say, okay, we did this to ourselves. It's time to recover our company image. When you hand it to a set of external developers, even if they worked on past Witcher games, I mean, that's a dangerous play because it's out of your hands now. You may know the people, but it is out of your hands. You can't just reel it in and say, let's take this over. We need to have control on this. I just think it is a very surprising play given the most recent launch from that studio, but maybe it's a ways away where they feel they can recover in case this is a dud, but I respect the risk taking here. Molasses Flood, it looks like a lot of us were right. The first thing I said when I saw them based off what they have made in the past with like Drake's Hollow, they would make sense as a Witcher game studio, but in our last conversation about the expansions for Cyberpunk and adding more content to the game, what more could they do? I did sit there and think to myself, Could Molasses Flood be helping lift up this franchise with a smaller game? It appears that's not the case. It's not at that stage in the game yet. So yeah, they are working on The Witcher, which is what a lot of us assumed from the get-go, myself included. Of course, a new IP is always exciting, but there's not much to say on that. But I love overall the transparency here. I feel like game leaks are a lot of fun. I do enjoy them. And I do know it hurts a lot of people because they have to wait a long time for the games they're really looking forward to. Game development takes forever, and I completely understand that. However, I do like that they're just laying it all out there. There's no room for leaks now. Boom, it's right there. Maybe this is because they were recently hacked, so their projects were kind of out there, get ahead of it. I doubt it, though. I do think this is on the air of transparency, just saying, here's what we're doing. And it kind of removes the ability to leak things because now you know what's happening. And when you see the game, you see the game. I feel it may put the industry in a better place. Again, we'll see if other companies follow suit down the line. Next, let's get into Marcin Iwinski stepping down from his current role. For those who don't know who that is, this video is all you need to see. Recognize that man? Boom, there we go. So let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Today, I have some news that's both important to me and the company. I am beginning a brand new personal chapter at CD Projekt, as I will submit my candidacy for the role of chairman of the supervisory board, leaving behind my joint CEO role. By the end of 2022, I'll hand over my duties to my colleagues from the board. For me, this is a huge moment. I've been at CD Projekt for almost 30 years, and I've seen it go from a handful of passion-driven rebels to an internationally recognized developer of story-driven role-playing games loved by millions globally. Back when Michael Kaczynski and I founded the company, I didn't think either of us would have been able to imagine this incredible journey, not even in our wildest dreams. When I think about the future of CD Projekt, it's so exciting for me. Today, the company consists of over 1,200 people working across all offices all over the world. But CD Projekt has never been about physical place or scale. It's all about the huge amount of talent we have and the hard work and dedication of everyone who chooses to work here. It is thanks to that commitment and amazing talent that right now I have the same feeling I had all those years ago, hunger and optimism for what's ahead. It really feels like this is only the beginning. Our hugely ambitious strategy has such an inspiring and strong team at the helm, and I deeply believe in our plan to take CD Projekt to new heights. As such, I intend to remain a major shareholder, and in my new non-executive role, I will remain active and engaged, dedicating my focus on supporting the entire management board. I will also remain connected to the core of what makes us special, which is making the best storytelling games in the world and doing right by gamers. I want to thank everyone who has ever been a part of what I think is one of the most vibrant video game companies in the world. I say this to every Red team member, every business partner, and most importantly, every gamer. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. So a lot of people were saying, well, he's out. See you later. Thanks, Marcin. But he is still there. He's still part of the company. He's still going to be working there, but he's not in his joint CEO role. What this means is he will still have some sway, still have some say. He's still a part of things here, but perhaps with new leadership at the top, even if it is in a joint role and the other half still exists, that CD Projekt Red 2.0 initiative can be pushed further, where developers are treated right, where we can make games with humanity, which is possible. It is really important. But otherwise, the next bit of news I want to get into has to deal with multiplayer. For a while, it's been said that CD Projekt Red will make a Cyberpunk multiplayer game. And while they did roll back the plans on that a bit, one thing that they focused on in the long-term update video, as well as slides posted to their investors relations social media account, is the focus here on multiplayer. Specifically in the long-term update video, they talked about multiplayer when showing off what they were doing with Cyberpunk. And I do have to wonder if this means this may be back in the cards again. It was never outright officially canceled, but they absolutely rolled back the plans on that. I do think Edgerunners played a significant factor here in what their plans and what the trajectory of this series was. I think while they were loving the recovery of the game, they felt this will never reach the heights that we thought it would. Edgerunners steps in and absolutely was the shot in the arm this franchise desperately needed, where they maybe saw that and went, okay, let's go for it. People want more of this. People are ready to love this. They're just disappointed in us for dropping the ball. And again, I am so excited to see, with now us all knowing collectively a lot more about the universe, thanks to the combination of Edgerunners in 2077, I feel like they are going to dive headfirst and do some dark, brooding stuff, and I can't wait to see how the game evolves. Oh, and let's talk about this Boston studio, because I think this is another significant piece of the puzzle. Pal Sasko writes on his Twitter account, "My chooms, I see you are asking, so I would like to clarify. After the release of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, I'm going to focus primarily on the new Cyberpunk 2077 project, codename Orion. I'm moving to Boston together with the core team responsible for Cyberpunk 2077 to establish a new studio and be the foundation for the North American team. Working together with the Vancouver crew and the devs from Warsaw, we are going to deliver you a banging next game. For those who don't know, Pal Sasko was the quest director for CD Projekt Red during the development of Cyberpunk 2077. If there's anyone who gives a shit about this game, it's 100% him. Having him be the foundational piece for the next Cyberpunk game, it cannot be overstated how important that is moving forward. This guy cares. He is wonderful. He is awesome. And he's talented. So I am very much encouraged by this new team that they are establishing in North America. So the future is bright for Cyberpunk fans. The future, while it's going to be a long wait, is bright for Witcher fans. And I'm just very excited to see what CD Projekt Red does next. There's so many things to think about, but I will leave the conversation there as I'm excited to hear what you have to say about all this. So please fire away in the comments down below. What do you think about CD Projekt Red? Do you trust them with the Cyberpunk sequel? Do you think they're going too in on The Witcher? Would you like to see a better balance here? Let me know down below. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.